Good evening. My name is Ken Mejia Beal. I'm the chair of the Democratic Party of DuPage County. Thank you so much for joining another edition of Chair Chat. Tonight, our guest is Jackie Williamson. She's a candidate for Illinois State Rep in District 47. We're going to talk to her a little bit about her journey and what led her here. How are you doing this evening, Jackie?
I'm doing great, Ken. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
Of course. Well, I like to jump right in, and the one question that is probably on a lot of folks' minds, why? Why did you decide to run?
That is a great question. I decided to run really after what I sort of think of as a series of unfortunate events, honestly. I voted in the primary, and that was at the end of June, and I saw that there was no Democrat who was running for state representative for this district. And that was a big concern for me. I remembered in years past voting for a Democrat and think that we should have that kind of representation at the state level. So that was red flag number one. That same week or soon after, the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. The Supreme Court took away the EPA's ability to regulate greenhouse gas emissions. And they also ruled that the New York state law that prohibited firearms outside of the home was unconstitutional. So it was really this Supreme Court trifecta that happened. And, I looked into, our current representative, realized that I couldn't just let this person walk right back into Springfield without some sort of competition. And, after a few conversations with my loved ones, with you, Ken, and everybody in the party who sort of could help me understand what this would entail, I decided that I should, give it a shot. I don't believe that somebody, an elected representative, should be able to just walk back into their seat without some sort of competition. I think people should have a choice. Voters should have a choice. So I thought, let's give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen is that we put up a good fight.
What's your background, Jackie? What do you do outside of what you're doing now?
So I currently work in human resources. I've been a human resources professional for about 6 years now. But I also grew up in Illinois. I grew up in the northwest suburbs. I went to Butler University and got a degree in music. I came back to Illinois and lived in Mount Prospect for a few years, but I moved to DuPage County in 2014 and haven't looked back. I lived in Wooddale for a few years, and my husband Josh and I and our miniature dachshund have lived in Wheaton for 4 years, and we absolutely love it.
Well, something that I know you hear a lot in your line of work, transferable skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what are your transferable skills that you can bring to Springfield? And what also are any other outside skills that you can bring to Springfield?
Sure. So I don't know that my music degree will be especially applicable in Springfield, although you never know. HR transferable skills definitely are applicable in Springfield. Number one, working within a budget. That's very important. I especially understand people's concerns in the state of Illinois. Working within a budget is absolutely necessary. I also understand the importance of working with all of the stakeholders who are going to be involved in implementing a solution. So number one, we have to understand what the problem is down to its roots to make sure that we can come up with a solution that's going to be effective and sustainable. And that doesn't happen in a vacuum. We have to make sure that we're working with the community who's going to be receiving whatever solution we come up with. And we have to work with the people who are going to be implementing whatever solution is made. So I also believe from my human resources experience that there is value in diversity of thought. Human resources has really been the driver behind the diversity, equity, and inclusion push that we've seen in the private sector in recent years. So I definitely believe that will be important in Springfield as well. But outside of my HR skills, I also believe that empathy is a really, really important skill that I have just naturally, and that will be incredibly important when it comes to being in Springfield and working with people to try and make our community a better place.
Thank you. And I say thank you for that, because that is a very hard question to answer when you're not someone already entrenched in politics. So I appreciate you going into so much detail about that. What do you hope to accomplish in Springfield?
So top of my mind really is reinstating the assault weapons ban. Very quickly after I decided that I was going to jump into the race, 4th of July, the disaster, the massacre in Highland Park happened. So I think that shed a lot of light. Right before that was Uvalde. We've been living with these problems for way too long. And I give Naperville a lot of credit for, instituting an assault weapons sale ban. I think we should do that statewide until whatever happens in DC happens. So that's number one, that's top of mind. I also have been hearing so much about the great work that the current representatives and the current government has been doing to pay down the state's debts, to pay the pension liabilities. Those are all really, really important things, and I look forward to continuing that great work. I also am fully invested in making sure that we have our public schools funded by the state 100% as required by the state constitution. And I know the value in public schools. I went to public schools myself. So that's really important to me. I also want to make sure that we are continuing to push our state towards implementing green energy solutions, getting away from fossil fuels and more towards renewables. I know that the federal government is working really hard, and Illinois is working really hard to make sure that we're increasing our electric vehicle charging infrastructure. That one means a lot to me personally. But really, more than anything else, I am working to make sure that we keep the rights at minimum that we currently have. I know there's a lot of improvements that can be made at the state level. And I just want to make sure at a bare minimum that no matter what happens in DC, no matter what happens in the states around Illinois, that the rights that we have here now are permanent.
Well, I know if I could cast a vote today, who I would vote for, but I want to ask you this. Why should someone vote for you over your opponent?
I think the answer to that is quite simple, but I will certainly elaborate. I want the job. I want to be in Springfield working for all of the people in this district. And I have gotten the distinct impression that my opponent doesn't necessarily want this job. I mean, not only have I not heard in the 4 years that I've been in Wheaton, the 4 years that my opponent has been in the House of Representatives in Springfield, never heard from her as a legislator, as my representative. So I definitely want to make sure that I, as a representative, am out in the community, out in the district, making sure that people understand who I am and what I'm doing for them. I also have, unfortunately, not had the opportunity to, at this point anyway, engage with my opponent at all. She's been turning down opportunities to participate in forums, and I think that's an important part of the election process. This, crazy process that we have to go through. I just finished up my first year at my new job, and all of a sudden I'm interviewing, going through the most rigorous interview process again. But it's an important process. People need to understand who they're voting for and what they can expect from the people who are supposed to be representing them. And I just don't think that that level of communication is appropriate currently. So I think it's a no-brainer, but obviously I'm also biased. I want to be in Springfield. I want to do the work. I want to advocate for all of the people who are in this district, this amazing, beautiful, diverse district.
And my last question of the evening is always a bit of a fun question, as I like to call it. I
Okay.
had I did attend your fundraiser last weekend, and the one thing that stood out to me outside of the fact that you're an amazing candidate, and I'm happy to support you, is that you have a impeccable taste in music. You have a great playlist. I knew all the songs in there. All of them are in my playlist. So my last question for you is, if you could, yeah, here we go. If you could perform as a backup singer for any artist, dead or alive,
Oh,
who would it be and why?
this is one I really could have prepared for, Ken. That's a tough question. The first one that jumps to my mind, honestly, is Freddie Mercury. First of all, Queen is one of the most technically and musically incredible bands to ever have existed. Freddie Mercury is one of the most incredible performers to ever have existed. Unfortunately, I was never able to see him live. If I could go back in time and see anyone live, it would be Queen. And God, the music is great. The vocals are incredible. So as a vocalist, that would be a dream.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so people know how they can volunteer for you, donate for you, phone bank for you. Let everyone know how they can get in touch with you and where we can find your website.
Website is jackie4il47.com, and 4 is spelled out FOR. That's the best way to donate, to sign up to volunteer. We've got phone banking events happening on the weekends, but you can also phone bank on your own time. We're always out in the precincts, and if I have somebody to walk with me, that makes covering the territory a lot easier. Money is also very valuable, obviously. We are trying to push forward 39 days left on my countdown. So we could definitely use the funds, and I promise you, if you donate, it will go to good use.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Jackie. I look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, everyone.
You're very welcome.
See you soon.